everybody. I'm Terry Tiemann, the Executive Director of Transforming Churches Network, and I'm here to tell you about an exciting new resource that will help your church begin to reach lost and dying people with the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's called Seasons of Discovery, and in this presentation, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how the process works. Here are some of the questions that I'm going to address. What is Seasons of Discovery? How does the process work? What happens in each season? And how can you get started? So, let's begin. What is Seasons of Discovery? Well, Seasons of Discovery is a 2-year outreach process delivered over 4 seasons that helps your church begin to engage your community with the gospel of Jesus Christ. During this process, you're going to make some very important discoveries. For instance, you're going to find out that there are a whole lot of people in your community who are looking for hope. Even though it may seem like more and more people are turning away from God and the church these days, it's also true that there is still a large number of people who are looking for hope. And isn't that good news? To know that there are people who are already looking for what your church has to offer. And you're going to discover that God is already working in your community, preparing your church to do some really good things that will help the people living there. And what about this? Did you know that there are people inside your congregation who have a burning passion to reach lost people? It's true. Every church has some, and we can help you find them. What's more, we'll help you discover God's unique vision for your church. In other words, what sets you apart from all the other churches in your community? And we can guarantee that you will experience a heightened level of joy and excitement as you live out your newfound vision. Finally, we'll help you discover the 8 hinge factors that open doors to your community for the effective proclamation of the gospel. You see, we have discovered through our nationwide research that there are at least 8 hinges that help swing open the doors of your church. 4 of those hinge factors focus primarily on the pastor, and 4 focus primarily on the congregation. The 4 pastoral hinges are personal leadership, building bridges to the community, visionary leadership, and empowering God's people for works of service. The 4 church hinges are community outreach, focused prayer for the lost, an effective board or governance structure, and inspiring worship. By helping a church discover how well they're doing in each of these 8 areas, we can begin to assist them in addressing their weaknesses and leveraging their strengths. What do you get from TCN in the Seasons of Discovery process? Well, each of the 4 seasons includes personal coaching, skill builders and learning guides for the senior pastor, a variety of tools designed for equipping the members of the congregation for ministry, interactive Bible studies and practical sermons to rally the people of the church around the theme of the season, and a number of outreach activities specifically designed for your congregation. In addition, each season will equip 3 important groups for reaching out to the community. Those essential groups are the pastor and staff, a special mission-minded group called People of Passion, and of course, the entire church. How will we help you do all of this? Well, first of all, we are going to recognize reality. You see, most churches have 2 major blocks of time during the year, which we call seasons, in which they can work consistently on important projects. One of those seasons would be in the fall, usually between Labor Day and Thanksgiving, and the other would be during the winter, beginning in January and ending before Holy Week, or if Easter is early, then in the spring, between April and June. Of course, the summer season could also be utilized by any congregation that might desire to do so. The idea is that congregations would utilize these natural windows of time on their calendars to focus on the 4 areas of discovery over a 2-year period. Now, as we said earlier, during each of the seasons, TCN will be equipping 3 strategic groups. Let's begin with the pastor. Since we know that empowering God's people for works of service is the number one hinge factor for church transformation, it only makes sense that we'll put a lot of time and effort in providing excellent resources for our pastors. Those resources include a specially prepared curriculum to help the pastor grow in the areas of leadership development, change dynamics, church transformation, and outreach. This curriculum will include books, articles, discussion questions, and learning activities that will help pastors to practice and improve their leadership and outreach skills and behaviors. In addition, each pastor will receive a set of skill builders, which is a kind of leadership toolbox that will help him sharpen his abilities around each of the 8 hinge factors. Also, for each season of discovery, there will be a sermon series and training resources for both staff and lay leaders matching the theme for that particular season. These resources are designed with flexibility in mind so that the pastor can utilize them in a variety of ways depending on his style and the needs of the church. Finally, each pastor will receive a trained TCN coach to help guide him through the 4 seasons of discovery and help make the process as beneficial as possible. A second group of people who will be equipped for mission and ministry throughout this process will be the people of passion. Who are people of passion, you ask? Well, people of passion are simply those folks who love Jesus, love their congregation, and love their community. The goal would be for the pastor to recruit around 7 such people of passion in a small congregation, although it could be more or less, and perhaps several groups of 7 in larger churches. He would then lead these folks through 7 missional activities using the workbook prepared by TCN. These 7 missional activities include prayer walking, community surveying, visioning day, service projects, outreach events, personal testimony, and sharing the gospel. These door-opening activities would be accomplished over about a 6-month period and then repeated throughout the 2-year process. In addition, the people of passion would help guide the rest of the congregation as they become more engaged in similar missional activities. Besides equipping the smaller group of passionate individuals, there will also be an equipping process for the entire congregation. This will happen in a variety of ways. For instance, there will be a series of small group Bible studies, sermons, and Sunday school lessons that match the emphases of the various seasons. Those Bible studies include motivation for mission, discovering God's vision for your community, natural evangelism, and prayer, stepping out into your community. There will also be training resources available for the congregation's leaders and a variety of promotional materials that will communicate the purpose and message of the process. Well, that was a quick look at the overall process. Now let's take a look at what will happen in each of the 4 seasons. Take a look at the Seasons of Discovery map. Going clockwise around the circle, you can see all 4 seasons, as well as the various activities, tools, and resources that will be available to you. Season 1 will be a time of preparation in which the congregation is introduced to the basic principles and practices of transformation. As it says in Romans 12, verse 2, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." In other words, during this first season, we want God to change the way we think, so we'll know how to do everything that is good and pleasing to Him. What God says is pleasing to Him is that all people would be saved and come to a knowledge of the truth. Specifically, during that first season, the pastor will gather and facilitate the People of Passion group. The congregation will fill out the Hinge Assessment Survey tool and generally be introduced to the entire process. There will be regular prayer to support the process. There will be a sermon series, Sunday school lessons, and leadership training, all wrapped around the theme of a new season for your church. And the Motivation for Mission small group Bible study will be available for the whole congregation. Season 2 will be a time for discovering God's unique vision that He wants your church to carry out for your community. What that means for your congregation is that during season 2, you will again experience a sermon series, Sunday school lessons, and leader training, all built around the building bridges to your community theme. You will form a visioning team, gather data from the community, and do a small group Bible study on discovering God's vision for your community. In addition, you will conduct a visioning day to identify critical mission targets in your community and begin formulating an outreach strategy to reach those targets. You'll write a vision statement that is endorsed by the whole congregation and then integrate this new vision into the life of the congregation. During season 3, you'll be focusing primarily on outreach. Of course, there will be outreach activities during the entire process, but your unique focus in season 3 will be finding practical ways to reach lost people in the context of your own community. To accomplish that, you will engage in another sermon series, Sunday school lessons, and leadership training, this time based on the community outreach theme. You'll form small groups that will study and carry out natural evangelism, and you will develop and implement at least 3 community outreach events. Finally, season 4 will be devoted to empowering your congregation to effectively engage people in your community with the gospel. Our research shows that empowerment is the most powerful hinge factor when it comes to the long-term future of your congregation. So during this season, the congregation will again receive a number of practical resources and tools, including a sermon series, Sunday school lessons, and leadership training entitled Empowering God's People for Works of Service. Small groups will be formed to study prayer, stepping out into your community, and the congregation will continue to organize and implement monthly outreach events. So there you have it, the TCN 4 Seasons of Discovery. Of course, we know that it's impossible to completely transform a congregation into everything that God wants it to be and do in just 2 years. The fact is, the transformation process is ongoing, and for those who want to continue, we will offer more seasons with additional resources and support. These subsequent seasons will focus on discovering how your church can adapt to meet the future needs of your community, whatever that may be. Specifically, Season 5 will focus on learning how to be missional in a post-church culture. So, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, wherever you are, it's my prayer that the TCN Seasons of Discovery process will indeed open doors to your community for the powerful and life-changing gospel of Jesus Christ. God's richest blessing on the journey.